We're going to go deeper tonight with Tal Heinrich. She's a spokesperson for the Israeli Prime Minister's office. Ms. Heinrich, thank you for being here. President Biden has told Prime Minister Netanyahu he will not support an all-out war for a year. That was simply too long. What does the next phase look like?
Well, Chance, thank you for having me on. You see, there's no daylight between Jerusalem and Washington in what pertains to the goals of this war, a war that Israel didn't start and didn't want. As you know, Hamas carried out the October 7th massacre, dragged us into this war as they continue to rain tens of thousands of rockets on our cities, on our towns. So we all want to see, us and Washington, the hostages back home. We want to see Hamas eliminated. We want to make sure that Gaza will never, ever pose a terror threat to Israel again. And on the ground, Israeli forces, the IDF, is progressing, advancing towards this goal. We eliminated more than 9,000 Hamas terrorists, or arrested another 2,300. Most of their battalions are not operating as an organized war machine, so to say, but there's still a lot of work to be done and terror infrastructure to dismantle. The northern part of the Gaza Strip is pretty much secured, although it's not 100% sterile of terror elements. There's still fighting, sporadic fighting taking place there. And we are focused right now on the central parts of the Gaza Strip and in the south, the city of Khan Yunis, which is basically a terror base within a terror base.
I mean, and that answer, again, you've laid out everything that's happening. It seems to be a little more open-ended than Washington wants it to be right now. But, you know, we can visit that another time because I want to make sure we talk about UNRWA. Several employees of UNRWA, the Gaza Relief Agency, were dismissed for alleged ties to Hamas and even participation in October 7th. UNRWA, though, is massive. It is entrenched. For decades, it gets hundreds of millions of dollars to help it do things like, you know, feed people. But also, they have schools. But the schools teach kids about jihad and fighting infidels. I was reading up on it in foreign policy. Palestinians rely on UNRWA. In some ways, they need what they're giving. What should be done with that agency?
Well, UNRWA is flawed, Chance, on so many different levels, beginning with its mere existence as an unprecedented UN agency dedicated only to the problem of so-called Palestinian refugees. And I'm saying so-called because UNRWA, in fact, perpetuates this status. They are the only group in the world that gets to inherit the status of refugees. And until when? Until the state of Israel will cease to exist. So it perpetuates the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is what UNRWA... Yes, you were saying?
So what should be done?
We say that UNRWA is a major part of the problem. Therefore, it can't be part of the solution. UNRWA is covering up for Hamas's actions, you know, their military activity from inside UNRWA facilities. And you mentioned the education. Who do you think these Hamas monsters are, the ones who carried out the October 7th massacre? These are the children who went to UNRWA schools, got education through UNRWA textbooks, and went to Hamas summer camps and became these terrorists because they teach children to hate Jews, aspire of, you know, killing Jews, and that the state of Israel is some temporary entity. And until then, they will remain refugees. So we say that in the day after we eliminate Hamas and make sure that Gaza is demilitarized, we want to make sure that the Palestinian society in Gaza is also de-radicalized. Therefore, UNRWA cannot be a part of the solution. Again, other agencies will have to fill in and take the important work of humanitarian aid and so forth that UNRWA, this aspect, has been doing, but in a very flawed way.
I see. Rather than consolidate it in one, maybe spread it out. Finally, Ms. Heinrich, while I have you here for about 1 minute, you gave this speech that caught my attention. You underscored that Hamas abused, mutilated, raped, and killed Israeli women, yet many pro-Palestinian advocates say that never happened. False flag, this is all made up. What's behind that denialism, and how do you overcome it?
Well, behind this denialism is simply anti-Semitism. When you boil it down, it really what it is. Believe all women, right? Me too, unless you're a Jew. That's why this hashtag has gone so viral. I think this is what's behind that, because we have put out abundant evidence of the sexual violence, and I had the honor to host that event that took place at the United Nations because we wanted to put this issue at the forefront because it was overlooked. And I said there that these women were murdered 2 times. One time when Hamas terrorists raped them, the second time when they put the bullet in them, and the third time they're being murdered through neglect and a refusal to acknowledge what really happened to them. And we will not allow for this third time to take place.
Spokesperson for the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Tal Heinrich, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chance.